Senator Bernie Sanders is now the Democratic frontrunner. I repeat, he is now the Democratic frontrunner. No matter what you say against it, that is the uncontrovertible truth. He is the frontrunner. And I've got some polling to back it up. So now, one of the major arguments that was used against Bernie Sanders is that he doesn't poll well with black voters. Look, I know it's a crazy talking point, but you still see it on MSNBC from time to time. And so it's still out there. It's still out in the Twitter sphere. It's still out there for people who watch MSNBC. So I've got some polling that directly contradicts that. And that's what's important because right now, Joe Biden, look, we're heading into North Carolina, large African American population, very, very important state, very diverse state. And so it's pretty important for whoever's going to be the Democratic nominee to be able to do well in that state or to win it. Now, Joe Biden was at this point before several weeks ago, the favorite to win South Carolina. Well, now we have new polling out where Bernie Sanders has overtaken Joe Biden. He is at 25% compared to Biden's 19%. Now, Pete Buttigieg, by the way, media is talking about, oh, yeah, here comes Pete Buttigieg, did really well in Iowa. Actually, they're saying he won Iowa. Technically, Bernie Sanders got the most votes from human beings. And so I actually tend to trust human beings over the SDEs and all that stuff. And so I do say Bernie Sanders won Iowa. He won New Hampshire. He is the front runner. And so this media narrative about, oh, here comes Mayor Pete. Now, look, he got second in both Iowa and New Hampshire. That's not bad. But in North Carolina, he's going to get absolutely slaughtered with black voters. He is at 6%. Look, you'd have to do a lot to make that up. So Joe Biden, again, touted his support from minorities. Joe Biden, of course, his campaign is currently in a death spiral, so we don't know what's going to happen. But we've got Bernie Sanders that is backed by now 28% of black, non-white, Hispanic, and Asian voters, according to polling data from Monmouth University. Now, Biden has 20% support, or about 8 points less than Sanders. So this is a completely different poll. Another one by Morning Consult shows that Sanders has gained 10 points of support among black voters, with 27% saying they now back Senator Sanders, as opposed to 17% were, before the Iowa caucuses. Biden's support, of course, is tanked elsewhere, but Morning Consult still has him ahead, actually, at 35%. But again, he's been doing bad in a lot of the national polls, so that still has to, of course, reflect the win from New Hampshire. All right, now more. Let's see. Biden, of course, has talked about how his support from black voters is solid. However, look, it's not as solid as he thinks. Vice and Ipsos also released another poll saying that Biden and Sanders were actually in a statistical tie, with Sanders slightly ahead in that poll. 56% said they would consider voting for Sanders, while 54% said they would consider voting for Biden. So, look, these polls, again, Bernie Sanders is doing incredibly well in a lot of these state polls with African Americans, Latinos, and especially young people, right? Young people of all colors. And then you've got these national polls where you have Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. Look, Biden leading in one, but most of them have either Bernie Sanders catching up or overtaking Joe Biden nationally. And so, look, it's a disaster for Biden. And Bernie Sanders is, of course, surging. Again, we've got that North Carolina poll with Bernie Sanders at 25. New Hampshire exit polling shows that Bernie Sanders, among Hispanic voters, had 42% support. Mayor Pete at just 11, and surprisingly, Klobuchar at 14. And so, in case you were saying too, well, hey, look, in New Hampshire, it doesn't really matter. because there was less turnout. No, turns out New Hampshire turnout just beat 2008's record. So more voters turned out this time in the New Hampshire primary than in 2008 for Obama. And they chose Bernie Sanders. No, he is absolutely the front runner. He's winning with minority voters. He's winning with younger voters. And he's going to win the primary. And he's going to beat Donald Trump. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.